Hello and welcome to News18 Digital Exclusive. Today we are joined by senior Congress leader and former Congress Punjab Congress chief, Mr. Sunil Jakhar. Welcome to the show, sir.
Thank you. Thank you, Swati ji.
Sir, you have been raising your voice, if not during the election, during the campaign, but why all this scathing attack now when the selection had happened, when Mr. Channi's name was announced? Why wasn't this kind of resistance, why wasn't this kind of dissent raised at that point of time?
Thank God that you asked this question. If I had raised my voice once a decision had been taken and during the election, then what would have been the difference between me and Navjot Singh Sidhu? Why everybody is gunning for Navjot Singh Sidhu is that he raised all these issues which should have been raised within the four walls of the party or in the party platform. But I think he played opposition in the whole setup. He was playing the government as in the opposition, the party and its opposition both. So I had my reservations. I made no bones about it. I told Rahulji also. I conveyed in whatever way I could that when I was asked by Rahulji to join the government, and he was very gracious. Otherwise, I'm not even MLA. He still wanted me to be a deputy chief minister and says, "Come work with us." And I said, "Sorry, I do not even accept this fellow Chennai as my leader. And you're asking me to work under him or with him. It's not possible." But since he
So,
thought
so
that it will be detrimental to the party if I do not be part of this, so I said, okay, for the sake of the party, I'm there, but do not expect me to go around kind of praising him, or as they say, इसके गीत नहीं मेरे से गाए जाएंगे चन्नी के, because I knew him. I had told him my reservation about this particular person. Other issues beside that, like I was also accused. Why I was removed in when Mr. Sidhu was brought in, because High Command was convinced, or these people made them believe, that Sunil did not raise all these issues which were agitating the minds of MLAs of the party. But the fact of the matter is, each and every issue I have been bringing to the notice of High Command when they happened. And obviously, there was a gap of communication during the COVID time when Sonia ji was not well and not meeting anybody because of her immunity issues. And Rahul ji was also incommunicado, like he was not meeting too many people. So there must have been a gap, but at that time it was not just Sunil. And nobody was other than the General Secretary in charge. And that fellow I've been briefing all along. I conveyed my reservations, my apprehensions, everything. But yeah, it's not my nature to go out in public and work against the interests of the party. And now
so but
also, yeah,
yeah, please.
but now also when I've raised this, because I see another of this repeat of the same mistake being taking place. If somebody in the CWC can call Chennai an asset, then I think there is definitely some sort of a concerted designs behind it. They're trying to project him as a hero. The guy should be the villain of the entire piece. He's the one who has brought the party down to its knees. It
So
was
don't you?
him.
Yeah,
Sorry, please.
yeah. Please
It,
continue.
when I was assigned the role of the campaign committee chief, I sat with all the concerned parties. Chani was also there, Sidhu was there, Harish Chaudhary, other MPs, and all the four working presidents. They were all there, and I asked them, "Do you want a campaign built around a personality, or you want to build around a vision or certain issues?" And they said, no. This is going to be a joint campaign. It's not going to be around one individual. We want to do based on issues and vision. But I think as the things unfolded, it turned out to be they wanted only this guy to be projected. I, in fact, even objected to. I said, why have you put my picture on these posters? If you
So,
wanted
sir,
a single guy,
are you saying that the party members were taken off guard when Mr. Channi's name was announced as the CM face? Was the party not prepared for this?
no, the party had, all the MLAs had given their consent that whomsoever the High Command decides It's okay with them. But then I don't know which wise guy decided here that there were three people here, Ajay Makanji, Harish Chaudhary, and this fellow, Mr. Rawat. They, out of their wisdom, came up with the thing after 1.5 hours of what deliberations, because the MLAs had already given them a one line resolution that please appoint anybody and it's acceptable. If they wanted Channi, he should have been announced. Then only he says, this Channi, we have come with the name of Channi, and here it is. If they had another name, they wanted to make Sidhu or Sukhi or ABC, they should have announced it. But they opted to have a vote. They wanted to know the individual views of every MLA. So they called all these 79 MLAs, and the results are for everybody to see. 42 people expressed their confidence in me. I think 16 voted for Mr. Sukhi, 12 for Mrs. Praneet Kaur, and 4
So,
for Mr.
but
Sidhu, and 2 for Channi.
when you had made this sort of statement at a public gathering that you were one of the highest vote getters when this CM's name was being discussed, a lot of people in your own party stood up against you, maybe if not too much in public, but they stood up against you to say that, you know, you were trying to sort of bring in a divide and raise this Hindu and non-Hindu and Jat politics in Punjab.
I wish they had spoken this when the real culprit, if they want to make me the culprit, okay, I am the culprit. But everybody knows they don't just have the guts. They are also all a bunch of sycophants. They are the ones, they should have gotten up and said so on my face, that throw Sunil out of the party. Or like I'm saying, that they have no option but to tell this lady who said this thing. Who brought the Hindu-Sikh divide? Who brought the identity issue into the picture? Sunil didn't. Sunil said the same thing on the day this issue, I think was 18th September or 19th September, when she opened her mouth. And I said so. I said this could be her views, but they are not views of the party. She has no right to sow seeds of hatred in Punjab. Punjab does not believe in, and nobody less than Akal Takht Sahib Jathedar came in support of it. He says, we do not believe in Hindu Sikh. We want a guy whose heart throbs for Punjab. And I think it is a statement which is going to be written in golden letters in history, that here is somebody who's head of this Panthic temporal seat, and he is not bothered about Hindu or Sikh, and there is this lady sitting claiming to be voice of Punjab. So I only raised because people went on and on saying that we are sorry that you didn't make it to the chief minister's position. And I said in that
Who
context,
were these
in my own
people?
hometown, at my own place, people had come, had gone to my constituency, and they came and they were shedding tears, kind of that, Sunil, you couldn't become the chief minister. You couldn't. I said, come on, stop being sad about it. There's nothing more than being a chief minister. I have won the faith, I have won the trust of 42 MLAs when I'm not even competent, like I'm not even eligible. Competent is the different, but I'm not even eligible. I'm not even MLA. So what are you cribbing about? So that was again like then when I said that this is a thinking of one particular individual in Congress party. And she does not mean Congress party. She is not Congress. She is a part of Congress. That's about it, as good or bad as I am. So please,
So,
it
but
was in this context, but they can.
don't you think that Mr. Sidhu is a bigger liability for the Congress now? And with him also having lost the elections, do you see more voices being raised against him apart from yours?
No, I'm not blaming anybody. I'm saying blame me and hang me for if I have raised this issue. But this issue, anyway, sooner or later will have to be addressed. How far they can go on denying it. But if, in Sidhu's case, I personally think as a head of a party or any organization, you have to have the ability to carry people along, which he has not displayed. So either he mends his ways, he comes into a new avatar, or he could be assigned whatever responsibility. But as a head of Congress, as president of Congress,
But
I
he's still
think in this
acceptable.
with this
Do
kind of
you?
attitude, you cannot run a party, and especially a party which is facing now very serious challenges. And there are so many senior leaders here in Punjab today. Only like, yeah, you have to give them their due respect and their due attention which they rightfully deserve. And if you are going to be kind of wishy-washy with them, that will not gel.
Mr. Bajwa is also one of those senior leaders in the Congress. So if he is sort of given a position in the party, whatever, is it agreeable?
It is not for me. I'm away from all these things. And if somebody asks my opinion, I will give them, because they have his history to look at. He has been in the same position, and he has been after that a member of parliament. All his conduct and all his issues are in public domain. Also, maybe they are also in the eyes of the High Command. I hope, because I believe there's a big gap between a communication gap. All the facts which seems very apparent as a daylight here in Chandigarh are maybe not even people sitting in Delhi are not even aware of. So I think any decision, before they take a decision, all these factors should be taken into account.
So, and Punjab Congress has hit the rock bottom, if I may say. Where do you see the party going from here?
No, we don't have. We of course we are in a very bad shape right now, but we have not hit the rock bottom, as you say. No, we are not even trying to go to that rock bottom. The idea is, where howsoever low we have come, we have to girdle up and fight it out. We have faced tougher times earlier also. We were reduced to 14 in 1997. Like, we had only a strength of 14 MLAs. Before, in 1977, we had just 17 MLAs, and we bounced back. Again, now we are 18, and we are faced with even bigger challenges. Yes, it's a very big challenge. Our worker is demoralized, and that needs to be tackled. But it's not something which is impossible. They have come up from 20 to 92. Why can't we do the same thing if we? But for that, we have to realize what went wrong. What was it that AAP offered and I didn't? We didn't. What was it that they, like this Aam Aadmi Party today, this 92 MLA is just but a ragtag collection of rejects from all the parties. If these people were not fit in our parties, how can they all of a sudden wear a different mantle and come as a savior of Punjab? So we have to figure out what was the underlying message. As far as I think, I believe people wanted to change the system. They wanted to weigh this what they call traditional parties. It's not the traditional parties. I think people were upset, wanted to change the tradition in which the governments are being run. And that somehow we realized it in time, when this demand about change in leadership in Punjab, Congress government started, all the MLAs wanted a change. I think we could have offered that change even before it became into a tsunami or whatever you call it. This change we could have provided them. We could have. They wanted honest face. They
So
wanted.
you kept on saying that there was a communication gap, there was a communication gap. All along you maintained this. So how is this communication gap going to change now?
I hope so that they will take corrective measures, because these people who were put in charge here, first it was Asha Kumari, then it was Harish Rawat. And I don't know, in the initial phases, as long Asha Kumari ji was here, there were regular meetings between the High
So, sir,
Command and
are
Chief of
you
all.
directly, indirectly suggesting that a person who is totally aware about the politics and ground situation of Punjab should be made the in charge of Punjab?
Yes, knowledge of Punjab is a must. How can you decide or say anything about Punjab if you are not aware of it? That's
So
understood.
you
That's taken for granted.
so you
People,
don't
like,
want
there are.
basically an outsider.
No, has to look, that's a separate issue. You cannot put a guy from Punjab is in charge of Punjab. Then I have my vested interest, my biases, my prejudices. They will reflect. It has to be. Why you bring a person from outside is because he will have a neutral view and he will judge without dispassionately. That is all. But this, whether they are dispassionate or not, that their own preferences and their own antagonism, that also reflect, and I think that also played a lot of part, because Mr. Rawat had his own favorites, he had his own prejudices, and I think that influenced his decision making. Once you are in a position of authority or a responsibility is put on you, then you have to shed your biases. It has to be a dispassionate, whether it is you like him or not like him, it's not of his personal liking or disliking. It is what is good for the party. And Rahul ji has put his full faith in these functionaries who come here. It is these people who are, I think they are betraying his trust in them. But
So, sir, is
eventually,
there is
the High
this
Command has
belief
to
in the
depend upon somebody or the other.
there is a belief amongst congressmen inside outside that both Rahul and Priyanka don't have their ears on the ground, and hence they have these people they have to depend upon. So, do you think that there is some kind of corrective measure that needs to be taken even there?
All I can say is they have to be very careful in choosing people whom they entrust with responsibilities or whom they trust. Mr. Sidhu had implicit faith. They put their implicit faith in him. There was no ifs and buts, and they believed in him. They believed in Chani. He believed him to be poor. They believed him to be honest. And yeah, he had three factors going for him: that he came from a poor background, that he was supposedly honest, and that he, on top of that, is a Dalit. In the end, only the third factor remained, that he is a Dalit. Nobody has questioned that. All the other things were under suspect.
So, sir,
So the
now if the
entire campaign which was built around him, this whole narrative that we have removed a Maharaja and we brought in a common man, a man from humble background, an honest man, and he proved to be a disaster, worse than what was happening. The very disease that we wanted to cure, this fellow was far more corrupt than any imaginable politician.
So, sir, now are you in some way suggesting to the High Command that the old original congressmen of the party should take charge, whoever it may be?
There are lots of people. They should be very careful in selecting, and there should be a constant. We cannot be left to themselves. Anybody, how does he know what do I carry inside me? On the surface level, everything seems hunky dory, but when you give authority to somebody, there should be a constant, like it is a constant feedback, a managerial information, what you call information system. There have to be constant feedback, like you keep checking from different sources what is happening, whether you have entrusted this fellow the job, whether he is performing well, if some certain corrections need to be made or not. You cannot just hands off. Is not by fly by wire kind of operation. This is politics. There are situations where one has to be corrective steps have to be taken. Steps taken in time. Yes, we would have a different story altogether. These issues could have, had they been handled at the proper time, which was maybe a year and a half or 2 years ago. But I think, as luck would have it, the corona came in. Captain Saab went incommunicado. High Command, Mrs. Gandhi was not well. And then Rahulji also cut himself off. And then these guys had the free run, like the Rawats. And they did the Congress in. The Chani was his choice. The Sidhu was his choice. He presented them like even yesterday he was being presented an asset. So both these assets have turned to massive liabilities. The company is almost on the verge of filing for bankruptcy.
So, sir, as I had asked previously, are you going to suggest in any way that the old Congress persons should now take charge, at least in Punjab?
I would only say that please hand over to somebody whose credibility is not under question. A guy whom people can believe in, and people would like to. People should also accept him as the leader. The problem with Mr. Channi is that I was yeah, maybe brash enough to go and tell Mr. Gandhi that sorry, I don't even accept him as my leader. But I think most of the MLAs never accepted him as the leader because they didn't have the guts to say so. So Captain Saab, there was no problem with Captain Saab. Everybody, maybe they had difference of opinion with him, but they accepted him as a leader. Had he been there, this kind of a indiscipline or kind of a, fighting with each other, I think this would have been reduced to a large extent. But yes, everybody has their strong points,
So,
weak points. He was a
so taking back captain was a wrong decision.
they were, of course, it was not all well when Captain Saab was removed. Captain Saab cannot blame Congress party alone. It was partly he was responsible for the situation. It was under his regime that all the MLAs got up and wanted corrective steps to be taken. But I think uh, one-on-one kind of meeting between Mrs. Gandhi and Rahulji on this with Captain Saab, that would have sorted these issues out. The concerns raised by the MLAs could have been addressed, provided Captain Saab was conveyed the seriousness that, sorry, Captain Saab, either you deliver on these issues in a certain stipulated period, let's say 2 months, 3 months, otherwise we will have to look for somebody else to do it. And I think that was all that was required. He thought, or maybe he was convinced because of the coterie around him, that all is well and we will romp home and nothing needs to be done, which was not the case. Again, the feedback from the party, from the ground, it was not reaching Captain Saab, though he was sitting very much here in Chandigarh, but it was totally cut off from the ground. And the same way, maybe here Captain Saab believed in his officers, and there Rahul Gandhi and Sonia ji believed in the general secretaries. They both had their wrong choices.
Thank you so much for joining us, sir.
Thank you. Not at all.
And I hope you continue to remain the way and speak out your mind all the time. Thank you,
Thank you.
sir.
Thank you.